So who are you?
I'm Mark Zuckerberg.
I ask everybody that.
Yeah,
So.
there you go. That's good. I founded and I run Facebook.
Very cool. And where are we?
We are at the new Facebook headquarters, which we call the Bunker. It's this little area in, right off of California Avenue in Palo Alto. And this is the first time that we've had the whole company together in one place in about 2.5 years. So it's really cool. You can walk around. It's just complete open floor plan. Everyone has a desk. A lot of energy. Really cool. Very industrial. We didn't spend a lot of money making the place nice.
No, it used to be an HP lab of some kind, right?
And it's cool. There's like the like vaults and things upstairs where you could just like where they used to store stuff in. It's now someone's office.
So what I'm doing is getting around the world and meeting all sorts of interesting businesses and understanding how they're getting into what I call the 2010 web. Some people call it the new web, or other people call it Web 3.0. I don't know what to call it, but I'm noticing a lot of businesses look like 1994, and I'm trying to get them to see that there's something new happening. What are you seeing happen, and how are you seeing how small businesses can get into this new world?
Well, I think that there are a lot of really interesting trends that are going on. I mean, one of the most important ones is just that there's more information that people are sharing now, right? So whether you're a person or you're running a small business or you're running a large business, there's probably a lot more information out there about you, right? And a lot of that through tools like Facebook, you can control that, right? So you get to say what information you want to have on your profile, what photos you want to share. If you're a business, you can now have a voice through blogs and things like Twitter that you couldn't before, and things like Facebook, obviously. And it's a pretty exciting time.
Yeah. Your dad was a dentist, right?
He is a dentist.
He is a dentist still. A lot of times when I'm talking to small business people and planes and stuff like that, and I tell them you should use Facebook Connect and have people on your homepage, they look at me like I'm some sort of alien, right? What advice would you give to somebody like your dad to get into this world?
Well, I think the interesting thing about it is, people have shared information for a long time, but the real thing that makes up someone's identity is the set of people who they're connected with, right? So, on Facebook, I know who you are because I know who the people are who you know, and which friends we have in common, and what things you like, and all these just different connections. And so, when you have a website, just having someone be able to come and log in gives you some information about them and some context on who they are. But through things like Facebook Connect, you can really understand who the person is and be able to tailor your product to it, whether it's saying, if you're a dentist, for that case, here are other people who you know who have visited, and maybe ask them what they think, or here's what they think. There's probably that information online somewhere. So just some way of making it so that all this stuff is interconnected just makes people trust things more, right? So, for example, to use the dentist thing again, if you go to a dentist and you can see what your friends thought of it, then that would obviously help out. If you're buying something on eBay or Craigslist, to be able to go and see, okay, here's the person who's selling the item, here's their track record of selling, that's really valuable. But also, here are people who I know who know them, right? That's like that type of interconnection gives you a really clean sense of their identity and who they really are, and allows you to build more trust with them.
Yeah, I've been telling people that you've already built the white pages, right? Everybody I know is on Facebook.
Well, 200 million of them.
200, pretty much everybody I know is on. I don't know very many people who aren't on Facebook. I mean, to give you a story, my wife's friends who she grew up with in Iran, 30 years ago, are all on Facebook. I mean, it's a worldwide phenomenon. Everybody who I touched is on Facebook. And now it seems like Facebook is trying to turn to integrating businesses in. How are you thinking about it? What's your philosophy of where Facebook is going to go with that in the future?
Well, if you think about this graph, right? I mean, the social graph is really the core of what we do, and it's like our philosophy of the world and how things are interconnected is really embedded in that. So the idea is that people don't exist in isolation. You are the set of things that you're connected with. It's your real identity, and these are real connections that you have. And part of that is that we're connected and we're both people. But another part of that is that I like Green Day, for example, or I go to my dad as my dentist. And we've really focused a lot on building out the people element of that. And I think the user growth all over the world shows that, and that part has gone really well. But I think a big part of it now is just understanding what those other things are, right? So, we're both connected to this Green Day thing. What is that, right? For someone else who wants to see. So that's why recently we've been focused a lot on pages and public profiles, and making it so that anyone, whether it's just politicians, local businesses, people who want to have a voice for just all these different things, can use that and build those out on Facebook. Because ultimately, just being able to map out all those things in one graph is just going to be really valuable for understanding what all these people and things are and what they're doing.
Yeah. One of the most exciting things is all the applications that businesses are. I meet a lot of businesses that are building businesses based around Facebook. And where do you think that's going to go in the future? What are you going to do with the application platform?
So we're big believers in the platform concept, which is basically that there are two ends of a spectrum. One is that this is an ecosystem that exists of thousands of applications, maybe tens of thousands or more, right? And that most of the value could exist outside of one application, but exists in the long tail of all these applications. Then on the other end of the spectrum is where I think a lot of sites have been up until now, which is that most of the value is in one website, whether it's like Facebook or MySpace or whatever, any individual site. And I think what we're trying to do is move from this one website model to a model that enables just all these different applications, whether they're websites or desktop applications or mobile applications, to really cleanly integrate people's identities and the graph through Facebook in order to just be able to be more useful in all these different ways. So we're big believers in the idea that over time the value will decentralize from just being on Facebook to being just spread out across the ecosystem. And ultimately I think that's a really good thing. I mean, I think it's good for the web to be able to have all that functionality built into all these different applications. And I think the place that Facebook will hold in the ecosystem will move more away from being a website and more towards being this platform and this representation of the graph.
That's really cool because it's what we're betting Building 43 on. One last question. A lot of people, Google's out there with Wave, which looks like a new thing.
It looks cool.
It looks very cool.
Yeah.
And Twitter's out there. How do you see the competitive landscape taking shape, and where do you think you're going to do something really interesting? Why do you think people are going to join
There's a
Facebook?
lot of people who are doing really interesting things right now. I think Google continually does interesting stuff, and there are new companies like Twitter and FriendFeed that I think are doing really interesting stuff. Ultimately, I think one of the things that a lot of these companies talk about is that the web and really the whole world are getting more open, right? So that means there's more information available, there's more that you can learn about, more that you can understand. And I think that's a trend that we all expect to play out for a long time, much more than the next 5 years, maybe the next 20 years. That'll be one of the most important trends in the world. And I think you can see what's going to happen in the next 5 years, just in terms of everyone getting more mobile phones that have just more powerful applications and better connectivity. But there's a real question about how that happens, right? And what the world looks like when it's open. And people talk about, on the one hand, futures where that are more dystopian or where like people don't have control of their information, right? Where the applications that exist are really kind of watching people. And that's like, at Facebook, we really don't want that to happen. What we care about is making it so that people are sharing information, people have control over the information that they're sharing and have control over their identity. And basically that the world is becoming more open, but on people's terms, right? And that's why privacy has always been a really important focus for us, because we want to make it so that we really believe that if you give people the right tools and you give people permission and control over who they want to share it with, then over time they will share more information, just because it creates value for them to be able to build out their identity and communicate with all these different people. So I think that that's the most interesting thing that's going on right now, is there's a tension between us and some other companies on both sides. And what we really want to see happen is see there be a web and a world where the world becomes more open and people can understand more of what's going on and people are sharing more information, but on their own terms, and they have control over it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.